Hello, everyone. The person who hurt you, who walked away, who behaved in ways that damaged connection between you, is experiencing profound regret about how they handled things. And that regret isn't abstract guilt they're managing privately. It's active remorse that's consuming them, making them revisit every choice they made, every word they said, every opportunity they wasted, every way they failed to treat you with care and respect you deserved. And at the center of their regret is recognition that they didn't just hurt you, they hurt themselves. They broke both hearts, destroyed something they valued, lost something they can't replace. And that dual loss, hurting you and losing you, is creating suffering they can't escape from or rationalize away. Let me describe what genuine remorse looks like when someone recognizes they treated the person they loved poorly. First stage is recognition. They can no longer deny, minimize, or justify what they did. The mental gymnastics they were performing to avoid taking responsibility have collapsed. They see clearly now. See how their behavior hurt you. See how their choices were wrong. See how their treatment of you was beneath what you deserved. And seeing clearly creates shame, not productive guilt that leads to growth, but deep shame about who they were in that relationship, about how they showed up, about gap between the person they want to be and person they actually were with you. That shame is painful. It attacks their self-concept, forces them to confront that they were capable of harming someone they cared about. Second stage is wishing. Endless mental loops of, I wish I had, and if only I'd, and why didn't I? I wish I'd appreciated you while I had you. I wish I'd communicated instead of withdrawing. I wish I'd fought for us instead of giving up. I wish I'd been honest instead of hiding. I wish I'd prioritized you instead of taking you for granted. Wishing is torture because it highlights that different choices were possible. They could have treated you better. They just didn't. And that knowledge that suffering is self created through choices they controlled intensifies regret. If they'd had no choice, they could forgive themselves more easily, but they did have choice. And they chose wrong. Third stage is apologizing either actually or in their mind, running through what they'd say if they had chance, rehearsing accountability, crafting confession of wrongdoing. I'm sorry I didn't see your value until I lost you. I'm sorry I was selfish. I'm sorry I let fear control me. I'm sorry I hurt you when you deserved tenderness. Whether they actually deliver apology depends on their courage and on whether they believe you'd receive it. But the apology exists in their heart, whether it reaches you or not. And the need to apologize, to somehow make amends, to be forgiven, to undo harm is consuming them. Let's pause here. This reflection invites you to consider who treated you poorly in relationship in ways they might now be regretting. Maybe partner who was emotionally unavailable, who couldn't or wouldn't give you intimacy you needed, who kept you at distance while expecting you to stay committed, or person who cheated or betrayed trust, who violated relationship through actions they now recognize as destructive not just to you but to themselves, or someone who was critical or dismissive, who made you feel small instead of celebrated, who focused on your flaws instead of your strengths, who damaged your self-worth through constant negativity, or a person who chose someone or something else over you, who prioritized career, friends, freedom, another relationship, and is now discovering that what they chose wasn't worth what they lost, or someone who ended things poorly, who ghosted instead of communicating, who was cruel in breakup, who left without giving you closure or explanation you deserved. Whoever it is whose treatment of you was less than you deserved, they're the person experiencing this regret, this wishing, this apologizing, this reflection invites you to consider what specific behavior from this person hurt you most. Because regret often focuses on specific moments or patterns they recognize as particularly harmful. Maybe it's how they ended things, the cruelty or cowardice in their exit, the words they said or didn't say, the way they made you feel disposable or forgettable, or how they treated you during relationship, taking you for granted, being inconsistent, making you question your worth, failing to show up when you needed them, or opportunity they wasted, chance to build something real with someone who was genuinely good for them, potential they destroyed through self-sabotage or fear, or specific incident that represents their failure, moment they chose poorly, time they hurt you deliberately or through negligence, event that damaged trust irreparably. Their regret likely centers on whatever they now recognize as their worst failure with you, the thing they can't forgive themselves for, the choice they'd change if they could travel back, why breaking both our hearts is accurate description instead of just I broke your heart. When someone hurts person they love, whether they recognized love at time or only in retrospect, they create dual damage. They hurt you through their actions. That's obvious. You experienced pain, rejection, disappointment, loss. But they also hurt themselves because losing you, losing connection, losing possibility of what you could have built together, that's their loss too. And often people don't recognize their own heartbreak until after they've caused yours. Don't realize what they had until it's gone. Now they're experiencing the loss they created, the emptiness where you used to be, the absence of connection that was good for them, even if they didn't appreciate it at time. And that self-inflicted heartbreak is its own punishment, its own suffering, its own regret. They broke your heart through how they treated you. They broke their own heart by losing you through their poor treatment. Both hearts broken, both people suffering, one person responsible for both breaks. This reflection invites you to consider, how does knowing they're suffering too affect how you feel about what happened between you? Maybe it creates satisfaction. Good, they should suffer. They hurt you, and they deserve to experience consequences. Their pain is justice. That's valid response, especially if hurt was severe, especially if they showed no remorse at time, especially if you needed them to feel what they caused. Or maybe it creates sadness because you didn't want them to suffer. You wanted them to treat you better so both of you could be happy together. Their suffering doesn't undo yours or create relationship you wanted. Also valid. Because their regret doesn't change what happened, doesn't restore what was lost, doesn't erase pain they caused, or maybe it creates hope. If they regret it this much, maybe they'll change. Maybe they'll come back different. Maybe reconciliation is possible. That hope is understandable but needs to be examined carefully. Regret doesn't automatically equal growth. Suffering doesn't guarantee transformation. Or maybe it creates indifference. You've moved on. Their regret is their problem. You're no longer invested in their emotional state or in whether they learned from what happened. That's actually a healthiest response if you've genuinely healed and released attachment to them. This reflection invites you to consider, what would you need from them beyond just regret or apology to consider reconciliation? Because if they do reach out with apology, and they might, this energy suggests movement toward accountability. You need to know what you'd require beyond words. Changed behavior demonstrated over time, not just promises, not just acknowledgement of what they did wrong. Actual different actions sustained long enough to prove change is real, not just performance. Therapy or personal work addressing root causes of their poor behavior. If they hurt you because of unhealed wounds, addiction, immaturity, fear, has that underlying issue been addressed? Apology without addressing cause means pattern will repeat, even if intention is genuine. Respect for your boundaries. If you need space, time, proof, do they honor that? Or do they pressure you to forgive immediately, to give them another chance without earning it, to prioritize their need for redemption over your need for protection? Accountability without excuses. Do they take full responsibility? Or do they apologize while also explaining why you were partly responsible, why circumstances made it hard, why they couldn't help it? Real accountability sounds like, I was wrong, I hurt you, there's no excuse. I'm sorry, not, I'm sorry, but, not, I was wrong because you. And honestly, do you even want reconciliation? Or do you just want acknowledgement that you were right about how poorly they treated you? Those are different things. One requires rebuilding relationship. Other just requires validation that your experience was real and their behavior was wrong. Be honest with yourself about what you actually want, not what you think you should want. What do you actually want? This reflection invites you to consider, if this person apologized sincerely right now, would you want to give them another chance? Or would you just want them to know you accept their apology and wish them well elsewhere? Let me address what you should do with knowledge that they're experiencing this regret. If they haven't reached out yet, but you sense this energy, don't reach out to make it easier for them. If they owe you apology, let them deliver it. Don't do emotional labor of initiating conversation to give them opportunity to apologize. If they're genuinely remorseful, they'll find courage to reach out. If they're not courageous enough to apologize without you facilitating, their regret isn't deep enough or their growth isn't real enough. If they do reach out with apology, take time before responding. Don't react immediately from emotion relief, anger, hope, whatever surfaces. Sit with it. Process with trusted friend or therapist. Figure out what you want: reconciliation, closure, nothing, before you respond. And when you do respond, be honest. If apology means something, say so. If it's too late, say that. If you need more than words, state what you need. If you never hear from them but you know they're remorseful, recognize that their regret doesn't require your response. They can regret forever, can suffer consequences of their choices, can wish they'd done better. And you can know that and still move forward without engaging. Their remorse is about them, your healing is about you. Those are separate processes that don't require intersection. You can acknowledge, yes, they probably regret it. And also, that doesn't change my decision to move on. This reflection invites you to consider: does their regret create any obligation for you to respond, forgive, or reconsider? Answer is no. Their regret is their experience to process. You don't owe them forgiveness. Don't owe them reconciliation. Don't owe them relief from guilt. If forgiveness serves your healing, offer it. If reconciliation serves your life, consider it. But not because they need it, because you choose it. What I wish I treated you better reveals about their current state. They're comparing. Every person they meet or date gets measured against you, and everyone falls short. Not because you're perfect, but because they didn't appreciate you properly while they had you. So in retrospect, you seem more valuable than you seemed at time. Absence and loss create clarity about what was taken for granted. They're recognizing pattern, that how they treated you reflects how they treat people generally when fear or selfishness or wounding is in driver's seat, and they're realizing they need to change fundamentally if they want healthy relationships. That what happened with you will happen again unless they address root causes. They're experiencing loneliness that's different from being alone. It's loneliness of having lost specific person who met them in ways others don't. Generic companionship doesn't replace specific connection. And they're discovering that replacements don't actually replace. They're dealing with consequences beyond just losing you. Maybe reputation damage, maybe loss of mutual friends, maybe self-knowledge they can't unknow about their capacity to harm. Their regret has cost beyond just missing you. It's affecting other areas of life, other relationships, their sense of self. You remain in complete control of how you respond to knowledge that person who hurt you is experiencing remorse. You can feel satisfied, sad, hopeful, or indifferent, can engage or ignore, can forgive or maintain boundaries. The power is yours. It always has been. You may notice reading this has brought up complicated feelings, maybe vindication mixed with sadness, maybe temptation to reach out mixed with protective resistance, maybe old hurt resurfacing alongside current healing. Whatever you're feeling, honor it. Take what resonates. Softly release the rest. Trust yourself. Before we close, I want to ask you something. If person who treated you poorly apologized sincerely right now, what would your honest response be? Acceptance, rejection, or something more complicated? Drop it in the comments. And this does knowing they regret it change anything for you, or are you already too far into healing to care? I'm sorry for breaking both our hearts. I wish I treated you better. I apologize. And that remorse is real, that regret is consuming them, that recognition of how poorly they treated you is creating suffering they can't escape, but their suffering doesn't obligate you to respond, forgive, or reconsider unless doing so serves your healing in your life, not just their need for redemption or relief from guilt. Trust yourself with this trust that you can acknowledge their regret without letting it control your choices. Trust that forgiveness is yours to give or withhold. Trust that their growth or lack thereof is their responsibility. Trust that you deserve better than how they treated you, regardless of whether they now recognize that. See you in the next one. And listen, regret without changed behavior is just suffering without growth. If they reach out, watch what they do, not just what they say. Words are easy. Sustained different behavior is what proves transformation is real. Stay boundaried, stay clear, stay worthy. They're sorry. You get to decide what that means.